The St. Tammany Parish Board of Adjustment meeting Tuesday, January 7th is now called to order. Secretary, would you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Thomas? Mr. Guidry? Here. Mr. Gordon? Here. Mr. Snyder? Here. Mr. Fandel?
Here.
Mr. Brookter? Here. Mr. Ballantyne? Here. Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Did everyone get a copy of the minutes from the December 3rd meeting?
Yes, sir.
Do we have any corrections, or can I get a motion to approve?
Yes. Helen, you want to tell me about my correction?
Yes, I added you as being present, that's correct. I added your name, corrected the first page, that's correct. Yes,
I was there.
yes,
Okay.
it's been corrected, sir.
All right, that's correct. Anything else?
The motion to accept the minutes from our last meeting.
I second the motion.
Okay, can everyone please vote with the lights?
Motion carries.
Okay, our first case is BOA case number 2019-1669 BOA. It was postponed from the 11/12/19 meeting and the 12/2/19 meeting. Request by applicant in an HC2 highway commercial zoning district to allow for the removal of all existing trees within the front, side, and rear buffers to allow for the construction of a commercial building. The property is located at 69424 Highway 59, Mandeville, Louisiana. The applicant is Pamela Barbie. The representative is Matthew Crane. The applicant is requesting to allow for the removal of all existing trees from the front, sides, and rear buffers to allow for the construction of a commercial building. Staff comments, please.
Okay, so the applicant applied for a land clearing permit and cleared the interior of the site. Subsequently, staff has met with Mr. Crane on site to look at the remaining trees and allowed for removal of several damaged trees, including some pine trees and multiple tallow trees, which are an invasive species we don't necessarily want. The plan currently submitted today appears to be a request to remove all but 2 pine trees, and it also identifies some other understory trees that are less than 6 inches in diameter that they would like to use for credit towards their buffers. Staff's recommendation remains the same, that they should maintain all healthy trees in the buffers per the Unified Development Code.
Mr. Crane, would you please state your name and address for the records, please?
Matthew Crane with the Jones Fussell Law Firm, P.O. Box 1810, Covington, 70434. We represent the applicant, Ms. Barbie. I'll give a little bit of background. She owns a very small lot of record fronting on Highway 59, where she plans to construct an approximately 1,200 square foot retail building. She came before this commission on November 12th, 2019, where she asked to remove all of the trees within the front, side, and rear setbacks. This commission, as Regan stated, they continued it, asked her to get a land clearing permit to remove the interior trees to get a better understanding of which trees may be preserved and which trees may be removed. We did that. Regan and I went out to the site, and Regan identified an additional 9 trees within the setbacks that we could remove. My client then got with her landscape architect, and we've submitted a modified plan. As you can see, we are requesting that the trees in orange be removed, the trees in yellow be preserved, and the trees in pink be planted. 12 of the 14 trees that we're asking be removed are pine trees that are in close proximity to either the parking lot or the building itself, or to above ground power lines that run in the front and down both sides of this property. As you can also see, and as Regan stated, we are preserving multiple trees, including a 24-inch oak tree in the rear and 2 smaller pine trees in the front. The code, based on the size of this lot, requires 2 Class A trees and 2 Class B trees in the front and rear, and then 6 Class A and 6 Class B trees on both sides. This plan complies with those requirements. The code states that this commission can grant a variance when there's an unusual lot size or an unusual effect of the requirements of the landscape and tree preservation requirements. I would respectfully suggest that this situation, that this lot is very unusual. It's an old lot of record and it is very small. All the trees are in very close proximity to the building and the parking lot. And I also would say that there's an unusual effect of the requirements of this, of making my client keep all trees that are 6 inches and above within the setbacks. The code actually specifically prohibits planting a Class A tree when there's an above-ground power line in the setback area. In this case, there's above-ground power lines on both sides and in the front. We've got a letter from Washington St. Tammany Electric Cooperative where they had representatives go out and inspect the site. They have stated in this letter that the pine trees within the front and side setback lines present a hazard to their electric distribution system and that they support this variance request. For these reasons, we would respectfully ask that my client be allowed to remove the trees that are shown on this landscape plan, preserve the trees, and plant the trees that are also shown on this landscape plan. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Mr. Ballantyne?
2 questions.
Sure.
Is Miss Barbie here, and if not, why not?
Yes, she is here.
Okay, good. And number 2, what's a commercial building for?
I don't know that she has, what's that? It's a retail store. She doesn't have a current tenant at this point. There's 4 or 5 identical size lots that are adjacent to this, where there's approximately a 1,200 square foot building that is constructed on each of them, and she intends to do something very, very similar to those sites.
Anything else, Tom? Does anyone else have any questions of the applicant? Do y'all need a little more time? I know we just received this letter from West St. Tammany Co-op and also this new plot plan, so why don't you just give us a few seconds to
Sure.
make sure everybody has any questions, since we just received this. Mr. Gordon?
Mr. Crane?
Yes, sir.
Oh, sorry. The power lines on the back of the property, where exactly are they?
There are no power lines on the rear side. There's power lines on the front
Strict,
and down both sides. The power line, when it gets to the back side of the southern line, continues south.
so what is the reasoning for removing the pine tree behind the building that seems to be well away from the building, well away from the property line, and there are no power lines there? What's the purpose of that one?
The 24-foot one? I mean, I think that one is actually tall enough to reach this overhead electric line, and it's definitely tall enough to reach the building itself.
Which power, so you just said there are no power lines behind the building.
Well, it goes down the southern property line, and then it cuts south. You can see where the where it goes all the way down to where the proposed sidewalk is, and then it cuts south.
No, that's not.
It states overhead electric on the line.
No, actually, it doesn't. I'm behind the building.
Which one are you looking at? Oh, okay. You're looking at the one on the right side? There's a 24-inch pine tree on the left and on the
Behind the building. Pine tree, pine tree, pine tree.
the 10-inch, or all of them. I would say that the two
10 inch.
24 inches are definitely in range of both power lines on the sides of the property and the building, and then the 10-inch is in range of the building itself.
So your contention is any tree that could potentially fall and hit the building needs to come down?
We think that because of the unusual size of this lot, and how close that the trees are to the building, that we'd like the ability to plant more desirable trees in this area.
Well, this 10-inch pine tree is 10 feet back from the sidewalk, which is a distance back from the building, probably, I don't know, there's no dimension on it, but
It
if
would
I had
be-
to scale it, I'd say that back sidewalk's about 7 foot. Oh, yeah, I do see
It'd be
the 7
17
foot.
feet from the building.
Okay, so you're 17 feet away from the building. How is that tree affecting the building?
I mean, again,
You just don't want it. Basically, you just don't want the tree there, right?
no, I mean, we
So you're
believe-
afraid it's going to fall on it, but just tell me what the reasoning is.
She,
You can step up.
Yeah, you may step up and speak if you like,
go ahead.
but just state your name and address for the records, please.
Well, my name is
excuse-
Pamela Barbie, and my concern is the tree falling on the building or or a person. I've seen a lot of trees falling when
Or
the
a person,
hurricane
is the tree,
comes.
is that tree damaged? Is that
It's-
one of the ones that's damaged and needs to be removed?
No,
No?
but pine trees are not strong enough to survive like hurricane or storm, especially in the place like Louisiana where hurricane is known for.
So under that theory, we should just take all the pine trees out of St. Tammany Parish, right?
For safety, sir, because the property is
Okay,
very small.
I just want to understand where you're coming from. Thank you.
Right, and I mean, I understand your point. I'd also point out that we are still complying with the tree requirements with the removal of these trees that we're asking to be removed.
Actually, the tree requirements are that any trees that are there to be left, not to be removed unless there's a particular reason for it. Am I misunderstanding?
Right, and I was referring to the requirement that there be at least 2 type Class A, 2 Class B trees in the front and rear, and then 6 on each side. Assuming that there's no trees on the property.
There's a 24-inch or foot oak tree?
24-inch.
Inch.
24-inch oak, it's very small, so I can't really see
Right.
what's going on. I don't know if it was 24 tall or 24 inches in diameter. And there's a pine tree close to that, I get that. That's a damage to the oak tree. So I can understand why you would want to remove that one. Then the one on the back of the property line is another 24, is that 24 foot?
24-inch.
That's a big pine.
It's another big pine, yes, sir.
All the way in the back of the property. So that one is just fear of it falling one day during a storm and hitting the building.
Yes, I think that's the main concern. There's some concerns due to the size of the lot of being able to get equipment back to that side of the property once the building is constructed to remove the trees as well.
The ones on the south side are in the power line, so I see that. The ones on the north side, it's just, again, it's proximity to the building. The one up front is just
Well,
a dislike for pine trees?
there's actually the 2 30 inches in the front are in close proximity to the power line as well.
That's on the south side.
That
I'm
would be
I'm
on
the north side.
the southwest side.
I'm looking at the north side right now, based on your arrow on here. And you've got a big pine kind of in the middle of the buffer, up by the parking lot. You've got a nice big pine in the buffer, not right near the building, closer to the property line. You've got one right at the building, which needs to go, obviously.
Right. And we're actually keeping 2 smaller pine trees on the northwest side as well that are not in close proximity to the building or the parking lot.
Okay, that's up in that front right corner.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Ballantyne?
Yeah, my question is to Reagan. I like to vote with the trees. Keep the trees. Tell me what to do. What do we do on this thing? Where y'all?
All I can tell you is to reiterate the staff recommendation that we keep the healthy trees within the buffer. As someone else stated, a lot of people don't like pine trees, but unless they change the ordinance, it seems kind of a case by case where you just say you can cut all the trees on one but not on another. There isn't a lot of logic to that. So basically, I went out there with the understanding of let's look at all of them to see which ones were healthy. We eliminated the ones that were close to the edges of the parking lot or close to the edge of the building. We found a few other ones that had cavities or reasons that they were not physically healthy specimens. But the other ones, you know, I don't see a staff reason to recommend removal that makes them any different from any other property, because regardless of size, everybody builds to their buildable buffer line, so there's always a 10-foot buffer on commercial. So if you're dealing with 3 acres or half an acre, you still got a 10-foot commercial buffer. So that's what everybody is held to.
Are you all in agreement with doing as she says?
I would just, again, point out the conflicting statements in the code about, I mean, if there weren't trees here, the code specifically prohibits us from planting pine trees because it acknowledges the risk of having pine trees by above ground power lines.
That's not what I'm asking. What I'm asking is, are you ready to do what she said?
What she says is not to allow us to remove any of the trees that we're asking
That's what I'm
to be
saying.
removed. We would respectfully request that the trees be removed that are being requested today.
Okay, that's what I want to know.
Anything else, Mr. Ballantyne? Mr. Gordon?
Mr. Crane?
Yes, sir.
Washington St. Tammany says there's a power line on the north side of the property, but it's not shown on here. Is that accurate or inaccurate?
That is accurate. There's a single line that goes down that property line, and it may be just that it's right on the other side of our property line.
Wonder why it's not on this particular plan. Yeah, but this is the north side over here. There's nothing listed. They're showing all the other ones, but they're not showing this. So there's one across the front, and as you're facing the building, there's one on the side to the right. There is one to the left as well?
Yes, sir.
It must be on the other property then?
There's definitely a single line that goes from the front to the back of the property.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mr. Ballantyne?
I'd like to make a motion to deny the request for the variance as requested. And like I said, I like to vote for the trees, and I support Reagan's comments about maintaining the trees in a buffer.
We have a motion. Do I have a second? We have a motion. Do I hear a second? Hearing no second, the motion is not accepted. So we have some more discussion. Mr. Gordon?
Mr. Crane? I understand the situation with the power lines. pine trees drop branches and on a regular basis. I get that. I'm not sympathetic for the ones that potentially could get to the building in some instance, because if that were the case, we need to go into the parish and clear cut everything, because that's everywhere.
Right.
I don't have a problem with the trees on both sides, which would be the north and the south side, being removed based on the power line issue. I have an issue with the trees on the east side, which is the back of the building, that they're just there. It's not, don't seem to be an issue whatsoever. You know, the trees, the ones in the front, yeah, if they fall, they could catch a power line, but they're not going to drop anything on the power line. They're too far away. So I'd be open to removing trees on the side, but not the front and the back, if y'all want to look at something like that.
Based on what?
Based on me just making a request.
Can I speak to my client real quick?
Say again?
Can I speak to my client?
Yes.
Excuse me, Don. I have a right to do that, brother.
All right.
And I got a right to say, you know, we got landscape.
You do, and you made a motion and no one seconded it, so we're moving on.
I'm giving him a couple of minutes to confer with his client. Well, he asked for a little brief to refer with his client, so I'm just giving him a little bit of time. Mr. Crane?
The only other request that she has is that those two big 30-inch trees in the front that are actual in proximity of, those are the two largest pine trees on the site, and they do hang over near the electrical lines also be included. Those are both the largest pine trees on the property.
Is that the two?
Yes, sir.
That's the two right there?
Yes, sir.
That's the two by the driveway coming in on the south side of the driveway. And you're going to be planting some new crepe myrtles, and is that crepe myrtles?
Correct. Some wax myrtles
Wax
and
myrtles, excuse me.
then two magnolias and then 7 adagio grasses all in the front.
So just to understand you, Mr. Crane, your client's willing now to propose removing the trees on the east, excuse me, on the north side and the west side close to the building, and the two pine trees in the front on the side of the driveway.
Right, I understand that it would be everything on the north, everything on the south, the two 30-inch pine trees on the west, and then keep the 3 pine trees
In the rear?
in the rear.
You know, looking at this, what he's requesting now, I don't have too much of an issue with it, but my only, one issue I may have is with that pine tree in the rear by that oak tree. You know, maybe giving them permission to take that, but I see you requesting different now, to keep those 3 in the rear, and all the other pine trees be removed.
We would like to remove as many as we
I
possibly
understand,
can.
I understand.
But my client's largest concern out of all the trees on the property are those two 30-inch ones on the front.
Okay, Mr. Snyder?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve with the following, that all 3 of the pines in the rear of the building remain, and that one of the 2 in the front, and that would be the one closest to Highway 59, remain, and the one very close to the parking lot, the 30-inch one there, can come out. That's my motion. No, I don't. I said retain the one closest to Highway 59.
Okay.
What was the third
It's
one?
big and
Yeah.
it's right there.
Mr. Snyder? Mr. Snyder, can you repeat your motion so we should
Well,
understand?
it's also being 30-inch, it is over.
Mr. Snyder? Ron, can you please repeat your motion?
Okay. My motion is to approve the removal of the trees and the replanting with the following exceptions. All 3 trees in the rear of the property shall remain, and the one 30-inch pine closest to Highway 59 also remain, and it can take out the one that's 17 feet from the power line and close to the parking area. So all the ones on the north and south side can come out, and on the east side, which is the rear of the building, those 3 to remain, as well as one of the 2 on the west side, which would be the one closest to Highway 59.
I'd like to make an amendment to the motion.
Okay?
We don't have it approved yet, then we have to get approval for it.
We get a second.
We didn't have a second yet on the
You
motion.
need to amend it before it's seconded.
Yeah, we need a second before we can amend that. So do I have a second? We have a second. Now, Mr. Gordon, you have the floor.
I understand what Mr. Schneider's concern is on the tree closest to the parking lot, but it's still probably 17 feet, maybe 18 feet away from the power lines. That would, you know, if you're dropping a branch, you're looking at a 36-foot canopy. Pine trees only have 36-foot canopies. I would like to see both of those trees remain. I have no problem with the one tree in the back that's closest to the oak trees coming out to allow that oak tree to flourish. So that would be my amendment to the motion.
No.
Keep the 2 in the front, and instead of 3 in the back, 2 in the back, the one closest to the oak tree, allow it to be removed.
Okay, so we have a friendly amendment to the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
On the amendment?
On the amendment.
Yes, we have a second to this amendment. Do we, yeah, first we're going to vote on the amendment, and then we'll vote on the original motion. Do we have any discussion on the amendment? Mrs. Snyder, okay. Any discussion on the amendment? Does everyone understand the amendment to this motion? If there's no discussion, Ms. Secretary, would you please, everyone please vote with the lights?
Motion carries in regards to the amendment.
Okay. So, Yeah, so now we need to vote on the main motion. Do we have any discussion on the main motion with the amendment?
With the amendment.
Well, including the amendment. Would everyone please vote?
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Our next case is BOA case number 2019-1698, BOA, postponed from 12/2 meeting. Request by applicant in a PUD, Plan Unit Development Overlay, to reduce the required rear yard setback from 25 feet to 20 feet to allow for a patio addition. The property is located at 801 Greenleaf Circle, Madisonville, Louisiana. The applicant is Jonathan Loris. Request by applicant to reduce the required rear yard setback from 25 feet to 20 feet to allow for a patio addition. Staff comments, please.
Staff comments remains the same. Staff is not in favor of the request. If I'm not mistaken, some of the board members requested some documents from the representative, and maybe we can verify if the requested documents have been provided.
Yes. My name is Jonathan Lorio, 801 Greenleaf Circle. I was asked to provide from the Homeowners Association a letter stating that with the parish approval to this variance, that the subdivision would be okay with that, and I do have that today.
Did you give us a copy of that yet?
I sent a copy yesterday as I received it to Helen, and copied Ms. Regan as well. It was late in the afternoon when I received it.
I did not receive.
We haven't received that in our package yet, so.
Understand.
Give us just a few seconds for us to.
It states that barring approval from you guys today, as long as I have it in writing and provide that to the Homeowners Association, that they are in agreement with the setback request.
So they haven't approved.
The letter states that they are approving it, but because this is a parish regulated deal, I need the parish approval.
And I think Greg verified. Greg, was that verified in the letter?
Well, what it says is basically what it said last time. If we approve it, they'll approve it, and then they didn't sign it. So we're in the same situation we were before.
It's not, we don't have a signed letter. All we've got is that draft or whatever it is.
Mr. Gordon?
Was I on to speak?
Yes.
Never mind.
You don't have anything? Okay. Mr. Ballantyne?
Yes, sir, Mr. Loris. Why isn't this signed?
Well, it took me about a month to get that from them through the holidays, and just received that yesterday afternoon in email. I did send them a note asking if I can get a signed copy, and I have not received a response. So it's what I was able to get in the month's time.
Can I ask guidance from the staff or somebody?
Do you have any copy of the email that they sent to you?
Not with me today, I do not. I've got the original email,
Okay,
which
just
I
a
had
second.
submitted.
Mr.
in the
Ballantyne,
first
you have
one.
anything else?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I was looking for legal guidance.
Well, legal is going to give us a comment right now.
So there's no legal requirement that you have to have approval from the homeowners association board. That's entirely a matter between him and the homeowners association. If that's a factor you wish to consider because you don't want to approve something that the HOA isn't going to, that's okay, but there's no legal requirement, and the parish does not enforce or is not involved whatsoever in any HOA or homeowners association requirements.
I guess my dilemma is, I'm uncomfortable approving something without the homeowners association approval, and just them saying, well, we'll approve it if they approve it. Is there guidance, or where do we stand on that?
There's no legal reason that you would need HOA approval before you as a government body takes an action.
Could I also ask a question to legal?
Yes.
Being that the setbacks are regulated by the government, local government, and outside of jurisdiction of the homeowners association, do they have authority to approve this without the parish approval?
The HOA is a private entity, and their agreements are a private agreement between you, the homeowner, and that association. So they're just really, although maybe one may respect the other, they're not connected at all, really. It's two different sets of rules that you as the homeowner must follow.
We got some more questions, just a second.
Sure.
Mr. Gordon?
Yeah, the BOA set the setbacks, not the parish. The parish accepted what they decided.
Okay.
They could make whatever they want in terms of their setbacks. They could have wanted 15 feet on both sides. They could go with 5 feet on both sides. That's up to them. It depends, and they're the full authority to say it's okay to do this. But what BOA is doing is covering their butt.
Right.
Because what they don't want to do is some other homeowner come up and go, well, he did it, and you all approved it, so I want it. And they can say, no, we didn't do that. The parish said it was okay, so it's on them.
That makes sense.
We want something from the HOA saying it's okay. There's no reason the HOA can't do it. They choosing not to. That's a problem for you and them, unfortunately.
All right.
Mr. Valentine, you finished, Craig?
Yes, sir. You've got homeowner approval from homeowners on your street, on either, or, around you.
As well as behind me.
Well, no, I don't see anything from 400 and 404 Fairway. I would like to see the approval letter from the people behind, because they're going to be the ones that are most affected.
The one behind me is listed in the original packet. Mr. Chris Stevens signed the approval. Now, also note that when I was meeting with the neighbors,
I don't have that.
it was included. This would have been submitted for the last month's meeting. It was Chris Stevens, Jeremy James, Jarrett Rochelle, and Brant Quick, which are all neighbor.
Yeah, I got Rochelle and I got James.
You're
That's all I
missing.
got.
You're missing two
I
others.
have, I have it here. I have it here.
Okay.
When I was talking with the neighbors originally, I had mentioned, option one, of course, is what I'm proposing today and last month, is to add on to the house for aesthetic purposes, and really it ties in with the layout that we were going for. Option two, of course, would be to just put a standalone structure, not attached to the back patio, but separate. It's a bit of a disruption in flow of what my wife and I are going for with the overall design and the landscape architect's design. And also, I can put that standalone structure, I believe, within 10 feet or even 5 feet from the fence or from the property line, which I think would be more obtrusive to my surrounding neighbors, and they all agreed. It was a general consensus amongst all neighbors involved that I just add on to the house if that's something I can get approved.
I'm sorry, I'm hung up on 400 and 404 Fairway.
Okay, we have 400 here.
You got 400.
Yes.
What about 404?
Their backyard does not come anywhere near, and in fact, they have a hedgerow on their backside of the property that's about 17 to 18 feet tall that butts up against my hedge, which is 8 to 10 feet tall. I've got a sweet viburnum hedge, they've got a holly hedge. So looking into my backyard from theirs, you can't even see it,
Okay.
and vice versa.
We do have 400.
And then if we were to consider the neighbors that drive past my house, being I'm on a corner on the main road that enters into the back of the subdivision, Again, my hedges pretty much screen that, but as passerbyers would look at my house, they would just see an extension of the roof, whereas if I went with option B, they would see a standalone structure that may not tie as well with the house.
Do we have any more questions from the board? Mr. Gordon?
I understand what you're doing. I don't have a problem with you putting an addition on. I don't have a problem with you being in that particular setback, but your HOA set that setback. Your homeowner, your development set that setback. They won't sign off on it. Whatever the reason is, they won't do it. I can't do it.
Well, I'm asking you guys to support me because I'm going to have to fight that. I understand. I've built my house myself, and I've dealt with the homeowners association. I had to seek approvals for a lot of things as I built the house, and I received a lot of the same back and forth that I'm getting today with them. But ultimately, I succeeded in building the house that I wanted at the time. With your approval today, I can go fight that fight. It won't be a burden of you guys, and I understand that there's a 50-50 shot, even if you guys approve it today, that I'm still dead in the water with the homeowners association.
Not according to the letter we just read. That's not true. They're putting it on us.
Right, but I'm going with the fact that I understand your position on the letter that it's iffy, right? It's not black and white that they're saying, yes, you can do this today. They're saying conditionally, yes, you can do it, provided the parish approves it. What I'm asking for is your approval and let me deal with my homeowners association that I have to live with in my subdivision.
Mr. Ballantyne?
Yeah, I make a motion that we deny the request for the variance because of the issue with the homeowners association.
We have a motion to deny. Do I have a second?
Unfortunately, I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Mr. Gordon? Wait a minute. Okay, there you go.
Look, buddy, I understand your plight. I'm sorry about it, but I was the president of a homeowners association. I was also in charge of the architectural review committee for homeowners association. We had all the authority in the world to say, no problem, you can do it. And I did it on multiple occasions. They're putting this on us so they can have clean hands in the future in their subdivision. If they didn't have a problem with this, they'd sign off on it. There's something going on with them, and they're trying to put it on us, and I'm not going to sign off on it. We have looked at numerous situations like this, and we always get an HOA approval, and we don't ever have a problem except for BTCO. So I'm sorry.
Can I ask a question?
No, sorry. Floor is closed because we already have a motion on the floor. I'm sorry.
Got a motion and a second.
Got a motion and a second. Do we have any more discussion? Would everyone please vote with your lights?
Wait, it was a motion to
Deny.
deny, so it's we vote. We vote yes. Yes, we vote.
The motion was to deny the variance.
Right, so we have to, we voted it wrong. I voted it wrong.
Well, I have to go by what the lights say, and right now,
It doesn't pass, so we'll
it
make
doesn't
another
pass.
motion.
It doesn't pass.
Tom, make another motion.
Can I make a question before we get in this next
Yeah,
motion?
we don't have a motion on the floor, so yes, I'll allow you to. Just a second.
Would you allow me another month to work with the homeowners association and get another letter that clearly states what you are looking for?
Motion to postpone.
Okay, wait,
And-
just a second.
And by my absence next month, that would just mean that I didn't obtain the letter.
Can you clear the, thank you. We have a legal,
If a commissioner wishes, if he made a mistake in voting and was confused, you may state orally that you meant to vote. If you're not changing your vote, if you were confused on the motion, and you meant to vote to deny and press the wrong button, you can change that orally. If that's not what happened, if you wish to change the substance of your vote, the only thing that can be done to revote is for someone who voted against the motion, which I guess in this case would be you, to make a motion to reconsider, and you can vote to deny again. But if you hit no on accident, you can just say orally that you hit no on accident, and Ms. Lambert can correct that in her minutes.
Okay, I'm not going to request that we change the vote. We'll let it stand like it was, but I'd like to make a motion to postpone.
You can't make another motion unless you've already voted.
Right.
So you have to make a motion to reconsider the prior motion,
Want to make a
vote to reconsider the prior motion, and then you can make a motion to postpone.
Okay, so moved.
You need a second.
I'm confused.
So you made a motion to deny, and the motion to deny failed. But in order to vote again, you have to reconsider. So someone who voted against the motion to deny has to make a motion to reconsider, get a second.
From the other votes, because all we need is four, but we had four
No.
yes.
But what you needed,
No, we had three.
we had 3 yeses, you needed 4.
That's what I'm saying. I'd like to hear from the other vote.
Well, that was Mr. Gordon and Mr. Snyder.
Let my vote stand. That makes it better.
We're in the same as.
I'm letting my original vote stand. You can record that in the minutes.
So the motion failed, so we can
I'll make a
reconsider.
motion to reconsider.
Okay.
So we got a motion to reconsider. Do we have a second?
I second.
We have a motion to reconsider in a second. Do we have any discussion? Would everyone please vote with the lights? This is a motion to reconsider,
Just to reconsider.
so everyone understands.
Motion carries.
Okay,
All right,
the
now
motion
I'll make a
passes.
motion to postpone.
We have a motion to postpone. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion to postpone. We have a second. Do we have any discussion? Would everyone please vote with the lights? And this is, so everyone understand, this is a motion to postpone.
And I hope we see you here next month.
Motion carries.
Me too.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Our next case is BOA case number 2019-1702, BOA postponed from 12/2/19 meeting. Request by applicant in an A1 suburban zoning district for an after-the-fact waiver of the required front, sides, and rear no-cut buffers. The property is located at 28132 Pine Cone Road, Abita Springs, Louisiana. The applicant and representative is Loretta Jarrell. Request by applicant for an after-the-fact variance to waive the required 25-foot no-cut along the front and the 50-foot no-cut buffers on the side and rear of the property. Staff comments, please.
I'm going to reread the staff comments from last month. The after-the-fact variance is requested to allow for the site to be developed and maintained as a pasture for horses. The owner is requesting to replant the site with certain species of trees that will not be harmful to the horses. Staff is not completely opposed to the request. However, a replanting plan shall be provided showing the proposed species and the location of trees to be planted, and the proposed depth of the buffers and timeline to complete the replanting. Staff has not received any additional information since our last meeting here.
I see the applicant here, and I know we have some people, I think, in opposition, so I'm going to give everyone the opportunity to speak. With the applicant, would you please state your name and address for the records, please?
Loretta Jarrell, 1604 Headings Court, Slidell.
Ms. Jarrell, well, go ahead. You going to speak also, sir?
William Jarrell, 1604 Headings Court.
Yes, sir. You heard the staff comments. Did you prepare any other documentation for us?
Yes,
Did you submit that to the office or to?
The reason why we didn't submit, because when we was here the last time, we wouldn't afford the opportunity to state or find out exactly what else additional information was required. We were cut off, and then we didn't get But we do have information with us, though. We got into the flood, about the flooding, and never got back to the substance of the meeting.
You had something, Tom?
Yes.
Tom?
From the staff comments and from all this, it seems to be about the clear cut, the issue of the clear cut and stripping all those trees off the property. But it's just not we don't want to lose sight of what we discussed last time, which had to do with the drainage, flooding of the roads in front that go on back to the end of the road, the silt problem, the runoff. We got considerable runoff of this property into a stream or any drainage in the back. There are creeks that run that are getting silted up, and the drainage has been affected. So it's just not the trees and plants, on the site itself.
Mr. Gordon?
Tom's done. This is for staff. Last time engineering was here, and we discussed that they were preparing some information for us.
Mr. Gordon, if I may, I spoke to Mr. Clutet yesterday, and actually sent me an email, and he informed me that no additional documents that they've requested have been submitted. So they don't have any update, and that's the reason why they're not
And
present.
he requested documentation from whom?
If I'm not mistaken, it was from their engineer. They had plans to be submitted. However, those plans have not been submitted.
Well, unfortunately, we're in the same boat we were in last month. At least on my end, we're still waiting on engineering.
Mr. Brookton?
I want to make a motion to postpone this case. We don't have all the documents that we need to make the right decision, so I think we need to postpone.
Okay, we have a motion to postpone. Do we have a second? Do we have any discussion?
Mr. Gordon,
Mr.
did you
Mr.
second or
Ballantyne?
Mr. Snyder? Mr. Gordon, you second?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Ballantyne?
Yes, while we're postponing and waiting month after month, this silt in the rains we got are continuing to clog up the creeks and the drainage. Is there anything we can do in the interim?
But I think we're waiting on engineering to come back.
It's not the parish engineer, it's their private engineer who is working on behalf of the applicant. The parish is waiting for their engineer to turn in documentation.
Okay, then I'd like to know from the applicant, what's the timeline on that engineering that's been requested?
He's been in contact with Mr. Chris Cluett, and he has a draft of the plan that he's getting ready to present, which is, excuse me, let me get that one right there, which is the one right here is being proposed. And so you guys understand, this property here that's in question, this property here sits all the way at the back of the neighborhood. It is not affecting no house within the whole neighborhood. I have an overlay map that can verify that. That's already been submitted to the parish. The property is the last property in the neighborhood. The runoff is coming from upstream, which is about 2 miles away, which is called the Double Bar Branch. Yes, sir.
If you continue on down the street, there's a house that sits back in that far, right corner.
No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. I got
I'm
it.
facing their property.
No, sir, I got a map, I can prove it.
At the end, take a left, there's a house sitting in that far right corner. And they're being affected.
No, sir. I have the overlay, sir. No, sir, it's not.
Well, look, yeah.
Okay,
If I can
We
prove,
have some people here, I think, who also wants to speak against this.
Right.
And
that property is their property, the branch, the branch you're talking about sits right in her backyard. That creek you're talking about sits right in their backyard.
she have a creek of her own.
That creek that you're talking about that's behind my property, it runs off into the woods, and I can prove it right here.
You
You
have
guys
this.
willing to see what I'm talking about? And you'll see the drainage that was provided to the parish. This is the property, their property is higher than ours, so there's no way the water can go upstream. And here's the thing from Burke, you got the one from Burke right here, J.B. Burke right here. Shows you how the drainage actually goes through the property. This is the proper drainage for this here. Which
Mr.
is.
Jarl, I don't want to cut you
which
short,
is
but let me
our
ask you one
property is
question.
right here.
Yeah, Mr.
Their
Jarl,
property's over there, yes, sir.
did you submit your replanting plan?
The replanting, we submit a plan to the parish.
When did you?
Replanting, this is the replanting.
Reagan, do y'all have a replanting plan?
We do not have a replanting plan except for what was presented previously, which just had some X's and said trees, but there was no size, species, number. And we met with them to show them an example of a replanting plan. We gave them a list of landscape architects, et cetera.
Well,
I had somebody call who said that they were going to do a plan for them, but they did not present a plan to us yet from a landscape architect with, that meets any kind of parish codes.
Right, and we do
So-
have that here.
But we do have it.
But it has to be submitted to
It's
the
a
parish to
verified.
give us time to, to evaluate it.
Right.
We do have a motion on the floor to postpone, but I know we have some people in the audience that would like to speak, and I'm going to give them the opportunity, since they've come out tonight, to give them
All right.
a chance to speak.
Can we come back up after that, sir?
Yes.
I appreciate it.
Does someone want to speak in opposition to this? Would you just please state your name and address for the records?
Yes, Lisa Sigsworth, 28070 Pinecone Road, Abita Springs, 70420. I'm the house that doesn't exist. This aerial view was taken yesterday. I know that you can't probably see it very well, but there's a lighter component right here, which they may not realize, that comes from Hillcrest. The property that he clear-cut is right here. All back here drains from Hillcrest up from 435 from Money Hill. All of that from the back. There's a stream that goes back through here. My property's right here where it's backing up now. But right here is the clear-cutted area, which you can see from the overhead that was taken yesterday from airplane. The part that drains onto their property comes from the front and all the way up from the beginning part of the properties, from the top part, from the top part comes back through Hillcrest, and it's backing up in that area, which you can see from the pictures right there. It's just the fact that we just want it to be able to drain appropriately. The silt has already filled the ditches back up where the parish came out last month for their request to dig the ditches back out. So the parish has already paid for the ditches to be re-cleaned, and they're filled back up again. So what we would prefer is just something to be able to happen here, to be able to make sure that it drains appropriately, and that our properties are a little bit right here. Ours are also low-lying. The house that we bought 3.5 years ago was built on topography, according to what was there originally from the 80s. But we also have drainage in the back that follows this pipeline that goes all the way back through. here. So all we were requesting mostly is to be able to drain appropriately. The trees help the silt to not go anywhere, to be able to help that. Unfortunately, they did buy a piece of property that is low. I'm not gonna lie, it is low right there. Across the street, there are streams that flow all the way in from the top part of the parish, coming from, I guess, Slidell, from Tallahassee, back across that property and then draining. So it is a problematic area. However, what we really are requesting is just something in there to help catch and drain and to be able to suck some of that water up and keep the silt in place. That's it. Thank you.
Anyone else would like to speak?
Hi, Sean Maddox, 202 Dawn Ridge Drive, San Antonio, Texas, 78213. We've got the property adjacent to the property in question here. I'd just like to reiterate, those no-cut buffers exist for, as we've discovered, a pretty good reason, and our only request is that we'd like to see that more or less restored. That's all.
My name is Jack Hopper. I live at 28498 Persimmon Lane. The photographs that Lisa was showing you actually show a flow of water from not only Hillcrest, but further down the road from Money Hill. The one from Money Hill runs directly through our subdivision at the junction between Oak Knoll and Golden Oaks. It's a main drainage way for that area. If the water is backing up, it's going to back into those areas as well. In another photograph that we'll present to you on the next meeting, we can show you clearly where there's two major areas of water drainage through here, Hillcrest being one, the one north of us from the Money Hill side of the property is also involved as well. And any other construction project at this point would have had a silt fence requirement, where nothing has been done on this one and it's dragging on, continuing to silt up the streams. The streams are very clear in the photographs and they do run through the man's property. Unfortunately, nothing's being done about that. Thank you.
Mr. Joy, do you have anything further to add?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So the board understand, we are gonna put trees back on the property. I don't want you guys to think we're not putting trees back. Per the Corps of Engineer, they already gave us a thing where to put the trees at. On the front of the property, we are gonna put trees in the front of the property. So trees are going back up on the property.
Yes, they are.
And we also have a field plan that shows exactly where all the trees going on the side of the property already in place. We got like they required us to get a licensed landscaper. We got that. We already got that already in place. So trees are going on the property. The thing we were requesting for is the buffer, because the city is requiring us to give up 5 feet from the property line, plus a 15-foot wide ditch on the property, plus 5 feet from that. We're giving up 30 feet on one side of the property already. So you
On the
put
left
30
side.
feet plus a buffer, you halfway in the middle of the property. Then on the left-hand side, we're giving up 5 feet plus 8 feet plus another 5 feet. So already the property is shrink, but trees are gonna go back up on the property.
And plus, our property is not causing nobody else's property to be
It's coming
drained with
silt.
silt or nothing else. We go out there plenty of time. Before we got those trees off the property, it already was flooded out there, because we was told by the owner that this young man, Sean, that previous owned that property now, that he bought it from the old owner. He told us that that property flood what Lisa got already when they put that pipeline out there. He told us that water get up high out there, real high. He told us the story, because we used to walk our property in the woods back there. So he told us water get up high back there. The owner on the left side of us told us water get up high back there when we used to walk the woods on our property. So water was already getting up high back there before we even got rid of the trees. So this was told to us before we even had our property cleared off back there. This was told to us. And the water was getting up high. When they put that pipe, when they run the pipes back there for the gas line back there, we was told that before they even owned property back there. Those two back there saying that they own that little horseshoe back there. That was told to us before we even got the trees from back there off of our property. That was told to us. So you guys would know that. That was told to us.
Right. Yeah, because see what's happening is the house that the gentleman from Texas has bought right next to ours.
That got that house that's on stilts. I'm sorry, but the lady that I bought the property from, that attorney, she told me she didn't understood why that man was putting that house back there on the stilts. That was already in water. Why would he want to put that house back there on steps? Because it was already in wetland in water.
8 foot high, that house.
8 foot high.
That he bought. 8 foot
That
high in the
he
wetlands.
put his house in wetland. Why would he want to put his house up front? Because he put his house back there in water. And then she said he was breaking rules back there. He even covered the creek back there. That they had to come back there and open up the creek back there.
And we can get an attorney letter that we bought the property to say everything.
To say all this.
That we're not making this up.
That we're not making up this story. That he had violated a whole lot of violation.
All right, Mr. Chairman. I guess the issue we're looking at is, there has to be a landscape plan or tree planting plan submitted. And I don't know, Ms. Reagan, have you received anything on that? And we don't have that. So we have a motion on the floor right now to postpone this and to you provide information to the parish as far as your tree planting, the silt drainage, and that's, I thought we had discussed last month that this information would be provided. Well, until we have that information, it's very difficult for us to sit up here and make some determination.
Yes, sir.
So we need this information for us to proceed. Because the only other way we can proceed is to vote yes or no on the motion. And on the motion is, on your request is you clear cut the property. No. So if we decide to vote, that means you would have to replant the property, if I'm not mistaken, or you'd have to get with our engineering department to see about replanting, or landscaping department to see what has to be replanted.
So you're saying replant the whole property or replant what we requested?
No, we're not saying that. We're saying that you would have to get together with our landscaping department to see what has to be replanted back on that property and how that would affect the drainage. That was the issue which talked about last month, to try to see how is this affecting other properties, the trees that were taken out. And that's what we wanted to get an engineer and also a licensed architect or a landscape architect to give us the planning that you propose to put back in.
Yeah.
Can I speak again?
Yes, ma'am.
I have pictures, photos, when we did the underbush, where you guys saying that there was a ditch in the middle of the property where that covenant come from. There was no ditch. I have took a picture of the center of our property on the left and on the right. There is no ditch, and I have photos of that.
Well, that we're not sure. We just going by, I'm only looking at drawing that I have in my packet that showed the ditch. Who drew this, I can't say, but I'm just going by what the package we have, showing that there was a ditch.
Okay,
And that's
well,
not- that's
he
not our question.
had the guy that did the underbreast put a little drainage on that property so the property can dry out. Those what everybody is looking at. I'm sorry. This just had to come back to my memory.
No, it will just come back and
Because
resubmit.
I just can't.
Mr. Brookton?
Mr. Durrell, what we need from you all is just a plan. And we've already made a motion to postpone. So once we kind of get that and we have an opportunity to kind of look at that, then we could make some type of determination. But until we look at all the data, then we're just sitting here kind of in the blind. And all the other stuff that you're saying, we don't have any information in front of us. So let us kind of take the vote, and so we can kind of move on.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion on the floor and we have a second. Do we have any discussion from any of the board members or questions? Seeing none, would everyone please vote with the lights? And this is a motion to postpone.
Motion carries.
Our next case is BOA case number 2019-1731 BOA, request by applicant in an HC2 Highway Commercial Zoning District to remove a live oak tree without replacement in kind on site and/or payment to the tree bank. The property is located at 801 Asbury Drive, Mandeville, Louisiana. The applicant is Lindsay Properties, Kim Lindsay. The representative is Ted Lindsay. The applicant is requesting to remove a live oak without in-kind on-site replacement of trees and/or payment to the tree bank. Staff comments, please.
Yes, this is a request to remove a live oak tree on the side property line. As you can see on the pictures and on the site plan that was provided to you, the property is heavily wooded. Staff understands is in favor that no replanting could take place on the site due to the fact that it's heavily wooded. However, staff feels that payment to the tree bank should be done from the property owner.
Applicant, would you please state your name and address for the records, please?
My name is Ted Lindsay. The address is 801 Asbury in Mandeville.
Mr. Lindsay, do you have anything further to add?
I'm just requesting a variance that because of the circumstances, we had to remove that tree because of the root system growing into our septic tank, and we were not passing the DEQ requirements for the discharge water. So it's not something that we wanted to remove, but we had to so we can pass the DEQ. So I'm requesting that we do not have to replant because there's nowhere to replant, and also that we do not have to pay into the tree bank because of these circumstances that we encountered.
Okay. Mr. Gordon?
No, Mr. Valentine was, you?
No, he
He said, I was going to ask the question, is he willing to pay into the tree bank? And he said he's not.
Right.
I'm just requesting, I'm not saying I'm not going to do it, I'm just requesting a variance that we do not have to pay into the tree bank.
Mr. Gordon?
I'm going to make a motion to approve the variance and not pay into the tree bank.
I'll second.
It's like City Park out there already. He's got 10 oak trees.
We have a motion to approve, and we have a second. Do we have any discussion? Mr. Ballantyne, you have your light on. You have
Yeah, I
something?
just don't understand, why not pay into the tree bank? I mean,
He made a motion to.
Now, that's what I'm questioning. I would require, what I'd like to see is have him pay into the tree bank.
Why?
Why?
Because he's cutting down a live oak.
He has an obvious hardship. He's got, his lot is covered in live oak trees. He has to take one out because of the septic system. Why does he have to pay money? It's not gonna cost him to take the tree down.
And I already just paid $5,000 to put a chlorinator in place where the oak tree was. The septic people had to come in and put a chlorinator tank in, a 500-gallon tank, which cost me $5,000.
Don't we have, I mean, we have an ordinance, I mean, if you're gonna cut down a live oak tree and trees like this, what it says is you pay into the tree bank.
No, you
No,
could
no.
cut down, if he was putting an addition on it, he wouldn't have to pay into he would be able to remove trees and put an addition up.
You still,
No,
you have to replant
no,
or pay into the,
no.
that's not my understanding.
Legal?
It's up to this board to make the determination. That's what y'all are here for, is to decide if he should or should not have to pay into the tree bank, or should not get the variance.
And I'm suggesting we pay into the tree
Yeah,
bank.
but see, but Tom, their circumstances, in every case is dealt with their circumstances, you know, everyone's a little bit different.
Well, he can
And-
make a friendly motion.
Well, no, I understand that, but I'm
That's
just
what I'm
saying,
doing.
it's not set in stone that every time a tree you have to, we have the latitude to look at the circumstances that's been presented to us. Some cases, we may require tree mitigation, some we may not, you know, it's just, every case is how it's looked at differently.
Well, I guess I don't understand why we wouldn't have him pay into the tree bank.
If I were building a new house and I had an oak tree on my lot where the house goes, I don't pay into the tree bank to cut it down.
I would ask you to pay into the tree bank.
Well, that's for another discussion. To Tom, you have your right for your ideas and how you want to vote and so forth, and you make your comments. But do we have any other questions concerning the motion?
He wants to make that amendment.
No, do you want to make, I'm sorry, do you want to make an amendment, you say?
Yeah, I'd like to amend it and then pay into the tree bank.
Okay, so you're making a motion to amend?
Yes.
Okay, do we have a second to the amendment? Do we have a second?
I don't hear one.
Tom needs one. What's that?
I said I don't hear one.
Oh, I thought you said, hearing no second, Tom, your motion, it doesn't move forward. All right, we do have a motion on the floor. Any other discussion or questions? Would everyone please vote with the lights? Does everyone please everyone understands the motion? Just to make sure. I don't want to go through this again.
As requested.
The motion is to approve as requested. Does everyone understand that? Please vote with your lights.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
So what's the,
The motion passes, so
okay,
you're fine.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Our next case is BOA case number 2019-1733, BOA, request by applicant in an A4 single-family residential zoning district to reduce the required side yard setback from 10 feet to 6 feet, 4 1/8 inch for an accessory structure. The property is located at 816 Fawn Road, Mandeville, Louisiana. The applicant and representative is Kirk Frost. The applicant is requesting to reduce the required side yard setback from 10 feet to 6 feet, 4 1/8 inches for an accessory structure. Staff comments, please.
As shown in the attached drawing, the request is to allow for the construction of an accessory structure consisting of a garage, activity room, and outdoor kitchen. Also, as stated in the narrative, the proposed accessory building has to be elevated to meet the required flood elevation, resulting in a need to provide landing and step-ups to the new structure and causing an encroachment into the 10-foot required side yard setback. Staff is not in favor of the requested variance, considering that the size of the building could be reduced to meet the side yard setback requirements.
Would the applicant please state your name and address for the record?
Yes, my name is Kirk Frosch. I live at 816 Fawn Road.
Mr. Frost, do you have anything further to add?
Yes, we have gone through numerous planning with different sets of drawings, and the final set of drawings we submitted, or we submit, we only encroach slightly into that 10-foot setback line. And I can understand that the setback lines are there to make sure there's no overcrowding with neighboring properties. I've submitted some pictures today to show that the placement of the existing homes on the two lots that are closest to the boundary line or on either side of the boundary line, those houses are far enough apart to where it would not infringe on the neighboring property line. On the neighboring property. I also have letters from both the homeowners association and my neighbor who have no objection to us moving into that 10-foot setback line by a mere 3 feet 4 inches.
Okay, Mr. Ballantyne?
Yes, the letter from GNO Property Management, Leanne Wilson, is not signed. Do we have a copy of the signed letter, or is this just a?
There is no signed letter. I didn't know that I needed a signed letter, but what happened was I submitted this to the architectural committee of the subdivision, and they approved it. And that letter from GNO is just acknowledging that the association has approved it.
But we don't have the letter that went to, that GNO, the letter from GNO is not signed.
Yeah, that's the letter that I received from GNO to confirm that the architectural committee has approved my request, and they have no objection, and it's specific to the distances.
Okay, we don't have a signed letter of that. We don't have a letter from the HOA president or any other letter knowing that.
Well, the homeowner association president is not a party to what is required from the homeowners association. The homeowners association requires the architectural committee to vote yes or no, and this letter evidences that that committee, it doesn't say unanimous, but I've spoken to all of the members of that committee, and they said they have no objection at all. And that's what this letter reflects, that the architectural committee has approved it. And another thing is, there have been 2 other sets of plans submitted to the architectural committee, which put the accessory building within 5 feet of the boundary. And they approved those. So they have approved 2 at 5 feet, and they've approved this one at 6 feet some odd.
Do you have any idea why we don't have a signed?
When I asked them for when I asked for a letter, this is what they sent me. I don't know why it's not signed. And that is from the property management, who is the person that provides all the information from the various people.
Anything else, Tom? Mr. Gordon?
Mr. Frosch?
Yes.
Get a letter signed for us, please. You've got a letter, have it signed. This isn't complicated.
All right.
You want to do an addition? We have no problem with it. I don't think anybody on this board is going to have a problem with it. Give us something that's signed.
Okay.
Is it possible to make a motion based on something that's going to happen?
That's a legal question.
Do you want this, let me ask you this, do you want this, who do you want to sign this? Because, I can contact Leanne Wilson, who is the manager, and have her sign it.
That's the letter saying it's fine. If she signs it, that'd be great.
All right.
Can I make a motion
So wait,
saying?
just a second, legal.
First of all, I think that people often use email and electronic signatures now. So again, there's no legal requirement that you need a physical ink signature. But if your only concern is getting a signed letter, and Helen, you tell me if this is a staff problem, but I don't see any legal reason that you could not grant your approval subject to receiving a signature on the letter you have in front of you, if you're happy with the content of the letter.
I don't have any objection, and
So if you wish to condition your approval, that the staff would not give any permits until the signed letter is received, I think that's legally okay.
Okay, can I add something to that, or ask a question? If they sent an email, would that suffice? If it came from GNO Property Manager email, because there won't be a signature on that possibly.
Sure, if your concern is just a authentication concern and you see
Well, I
the
think that's what
email.
Mr. Gordon is concerned with.
I could
Yeah,
forward the email that I received from Leanne Wilson with this letter that was attached.
That's
Would that-
fine.
Would that suffice?
We just want something documenting that that this person wrote the letter and it just isn't something that popped up somewhere.
you're looking
Right.
for an authentication
That's
of
all.
who it came from.
That's all it is.
So just to clarify legal.
I'm trying to.
So we can make a motion subject to receiving a verification by email that this,
Sure, yeah.
and then once that would be issued, just so I understand, once that would be issued, then he would get a building permit and just go about, he wouldn't have to come before this board.
You can make a motion, we see this at planning and zoning sometimes, you can make a motion to approve, subject to the staff not issuing any permits until a signed letter or an email is forwarded, if you'd like to do that.
I would like to do that.
Because if it was an email, I can forward you the email from Leanne, which would be the same thing that you're requesting. Or you're asking for an email with a signed letter?
You just heard legal, and that's fine.
So, let legal
No, because
explain
I
it.
have an email from Leanne Wilson.
She's saying.
And that letter's attached?
Yes.
Yeah, I think you,
Forward it
if
now.
it's
Just
okay
forward
with
that
them,
to-
you can just
to-
forward that.
To Helen,
Okay.
if that's what your motion is.
That's what my motion is.
Do
Do I
we-
need to restate it completely?
Yes, would you just state it, yes, just so we all understand.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the variance based on receiving some type of authorization of the letter we received approving from the HOA to do the addition into the setback.
We have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, would everyone please vote with your lights?
Motion carries.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Our next case is BOA case number 2019-1734, BOA, request by applicant in an A3 suburban zoning district for an after-the-fact variance to waiver the required 10-foot side yard setback for an accessory structure. The property is located at 147 Bertel Drive, Covington, Louisiana. The applicant and representative is Jacob and Angelina Van Wyn. The applicant is requesting an after-the-fact variance to waive the required 10-foot side yard setback for an accessory structure. Staff comments, please.
After locating the property corners, the applicant determined that the accessory structure is currently located 7 feet from the side property line. The variance is requested to be amended to reduce the side yard setback from 10 feet to 7 feet. Although the size of the setback variance has been reduced, staff is not in favor of the request, considering that no evidence of hardship or practical difficulty has been demonstrated. Moreover, it doesn't appear that the property has any unique physical characteristic to recommend approval.
Would you please state your name and address for the records, please?
Jacob Van Wynen, 147 Bertel Drive, Covington, Louisiana.
Mr. Van Wynen, do you have anything else further to add?
Yes, sir. I would just like to make a couple comments before the members of the board. My wife and I purchased our first home 4 years ago, and a year after we purchased it, we entered a contract with Home Depot to construct a shed on the property. They came out with the shed disassembled and then assembled it. They chose a spot. I said, yeah, wherever in the backyard. It's a huge backyard. And they said, this area would be perfect. We wouldn't have to level anything. Let's just put it right here. I said, okay. I talked to my neighbors. All 4 neighbors gave their thumbs up. I, being a first-time home buyer, didn't know that I had to get approval for that. So the contractor constructed it from scratch, the base and everything, and then we all paved it in and put mortar and pavers all around. We had ditches dug all around and spent a good amount of money to beautify the backyard. And then about a year ago, or maybe a little bit less, we were cited with this citation. Had I had known at that time that it should have moved over 3 feet, that would have been no problem to us whatsoever. The problem is we spoke to the contractor now that constructed the actual shed, and he said, sir, the type of base that you purchased on that shed is an aluminum base and very flimsy, and the trusses underneath are very flimsy. If we try to move it at all, it will collapse on itself. The base will collapse on itself. So there's no way for us to even try to get some jacks under it and scoot it over without ruining the whole aluminum base. And so that thing was $7,000 plus the pavers all around. It would be so hard for me to move it 3 feet over. All four of my adjoining neighbors have all submitted letters that have been signed and have no problem with it. We're very close with them. I'm actually on the homeowners association. Our homeowners association, I'm on the board. I'm the zoning and parish liaison. Now that this has happened, because I wanted to help other people in my neighborhood. But ours is not it's a voluntary homeowners association. I'm in Covington Country Club Estates. And so we have no teeth. So anything that anyone does, we can't really enforce because all of the dues are all voluntary. So there's really no way that we can enforce anything. We're trying right now to try to change it. I'm an attorney and there's another attorney on the board, and we're trying to change it to make it a non-voluntary and a mandatory homeowner association. But right now, there's no teeth. No one on the board has any issue with this, with my personal property, with the shed the way that it is. The parish has gone back there probably about 6 times since the shed has been there to help with power lines and to do sewage inspections. They've brought machinery back there, and they've come right back through between the adjacent property and the back of my shed, and they've had no problem with ingress or egress. Mr. Mike Lorino came out and was very courteous to come out last week and went through and walked around the property with me and had his own opinion about it. But any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
I have one question.
Sir.
When was this put in?
It was put in approximately 3 years ago.
Okay, that answers my question. So we got some, and I see we have some other people in the audience. I don't know if anybody's here to speak against or for it. I see the gentleman in the back, and just wanted to make sure didn't exclude you from something. And Mr. Marino, I mean, you may want to speak also. We have Mr. Gordon.
Yeah, I'm just curious, after 3 years, how'd this pop up? Did someone complain?
So Mike told me not to talk about it, but I'll talk about it. We have a lady in our neighborhood who lives about 4 streets away, and we have our own homeowner association website where everyone gets on and comments, and we're a close neighborhood. And this lady who doesn't pay her dues lives with her mother and is just a humbug and goes around and drives around. And Dennis Hickey, who is a stud, said, Bud, you got cited, and so did 4 other members on your road for the same shed issue. 2 others on the same road got a variance. Danny, who's 3 doors down, got a variance for his shed, and then one further down, Bertel. But yeah, on the same day, the lady drove down, and Dennis was busy that whole day doing 4 citations.
Okay, number one, Home Depot knows better. No matter what they say, trust me, I've had to deal with Home Depot on multiple occasions from my employment. They know they need permits, and they know they need to deal with setbacks. If you're sitting on a quasi homeowners association board, who's chairing it?
That's going to be Mr. Wells.
Then have Mr. Wells put a letter out saying, we approve the variance and get it to us.
Okay. I don't think that'd be a problem at all.
Mr. Ballantyne?
Yes, this drawing, where it's got the, in the back, the sketch, I mean, the shed is just sketched in. Is there a survey that shows exactly where it is?
There's no actual survey. Helen worked with us very graciously, and we did have that from the purchase of the property, and then she allowed us to sketch it in to scale based on when they came out and inspected it.
If she's okay, I'm okay.
Does anyone else want to speak? Mr. Marino, do you want to speak?
First of all, before we even do that, I'd like to thank you all for serving on this board. It's very important to the parish. And Mike Lorino, I'm District 4 Councilman and Chairman of the Council as we speak for this year and maybe next year. But I went out and looked at it, and you can barely see it from the street, barely. And I'll give you a perfect example, and I think you all know this, you deal with this all the time, so it's nothing new. But sometimes you have people that just drive around for things. Perfect example, I had a swimming pool with no fence, and we only have 26 subdivisions and 26 houses in our subdivision, and someone moved in and was upset with somebody, and they came in and they said, you need to have a fence, but not to me. They said it to somebody else, and coincidentally, I'm the councilman for the district, and so code enforcement says, well, you know, you have an issue in Claiborne Oaks, and I said, yeah, I know, I live here, what's the issue? And so I put a fence up, but that's neither here nor there. But what I'm getting at is, for me, when I looked at it, as long as his neighbors that are sitting there next to it, across the street, that see it every day, not passing for 1 second to go by in the car or go back this way in the car, are fine with it, I think it should be fine. So I just wanted to say that. And once again, I want to thank you all for serving. It really is a pleasure, and I thank you very much.
Mr. Snyder?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve the variance with the note that Mr. Van Wynen get a signed letter from Mr. Wells made out to the parish referencing this case, and present that to the parish as getting your permit.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, would everyone please vote with your lights?
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, thank you.
Motion carries, motion passed.
Motion passes. All right, old business?
Yes.
We do have one thing, new business, but old business, Tom? Tom?
Yeah, I'm requesting approval, unanimous approval from the board to go to the parish council on a subject that is near and dear to me, as you know. Today, out of 6 cases, 2 of them are after the fact. And with monotonous regularity, we get cases of after somebody wants something after the fact. And as you know, my feeling is the contractors go to the homeowner. They said, you'll never get a permit for that, but let me handle it. We'll go ahead and build it, and I'll go back and we'll get approval or get a variance after the fact from the Board of Adjustment. Everybody be happy. And that, I don't think that happens every time, but you know, I think we're naive if we don't think that's going on. So what I would like to do is get some teeth into this and take it to the parish council and get it approved after the fact. And what I'd like to do is, you know, if it please the board, I'd take it to the parish and present it. If it please the board and you approve it, and require the infringing party to go back and get a permit, a legitimate permit, that then we know they've satisfied all the other requirements, and that permit would come to us, and it would be approved subject to the granting of the variance by the Board of Zoning Adjustment. You know, kind of lay it out that way.
Apply for a building permit?
Yeah.
They always have to apply for a building permit.
But when it comes to us,
They've applied, they've been denied, that's why it comes to the variance.
And they have to go through, if I'm not mistaken, if they're doing something after the fact, they have to be inspected on certain things to make sure they're meeting codes.
Okay.
And, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but once they apply for this building permit after the fact, they have to, the inspectors will go out. If there's electrical, there'll be electrical inspection, there'll be a framing inspection, there'll be plumbing inspection. And if he fails any one of those inspections, those things would have to be rectified.
okay, Good.
Except for the fact that if it's an accessory structure less than
What?
100 square,
feet or 100 feet?
100 square.
100
Yeah,
feet, there
that's
is no
big.
inspection.
There's no, yeah, that's something different. But if it,
And there's no permit.
Well, then let me put it otherwise. What else can we do? 30%, 33% of our cases today are after the fact.
But we handle each one of them on an individual basis. We
Yeah,
look
yeah.
at the
No, I know that's what we
situation
do.
I
whether
don't know
it's
how we're
after
gonna
fact or
stop
not.
that, Tom. I don't know how we're gonna stop that.
Well, that's what I'm asking.
Tom, I understand there is somewhat of a financial penalty for an after
Yeah.
the fact, but I
But
would
it's
like
obviously not-
I would like to see one level of penalty to the homeowner after the fact, but a much, much higher penalty dollar-wise to a licensed contractor after the fact. If a licensed contractor is gonna do business in this parish, he needs to follow the rules. And if he comes in and California driveways or whatever it is, carports.
Yeah.
Carports, they're the
California
worst. Carolina
carports.
carports are
Whoever it
terrible.
was, I think there needs to be a $10,000 fine for an after the fact to a contractor.
You won't get that.
I don't think,
All right, 5,000.
Yeah, you won't get that either.
I don't know how, well, that's another issue, but I don't know how we can find the contractor and let that hold up. I don't know if we can or not
Puller's
legally.
license to operate in the parish after it happens.
Well, we
No,
maybe have to pull his
We
license.
can't, but Tom can go to the parish and request something like that, and the council can certainly
That's what
put
I'm
teeth
asking.
into an ordinance. That's up to them.
Rather than just sit here and this come up over and over again, what can we do?
But we
if it
don't,
pleases-
but we do not rubber stamp after the facts.
No,
We don't.
I
I
appreciate
personally
that.
look at every case individually. I don't care if it's after the fact or with a full permit or whatever, and make a determination based on what's going on.
But I'm not sure if you're aware of the situation, Mr. Ballantyne, but the homeowner who's requesting a variance after the fact is not only required to pay the fees, the after the fact fees to apply, but they're also double fee on their building permits.
I understood that. I'm aware of that. But I would like to go to the council and present this situation, dilemma, and suggest that the contractor also pays a fine, if it please the board.
Well, as a board member, I have no issue. I don't know what legal says, but I have no issue for you going to the council and speaking.
If the board wishes to take a vote on that, you need to first vote to open up the floor. And if you want this to be like an official motion from the board.
Well, we need some kind of resolution, wouldn't we?
Yeah, and you can do that. You will have, someone will have to make a motion in a second to open up the floor and pull this item off the floor because it has not been advertised. You'll need a unanimous vote. And then if you'd like to discuss it further, and then if you wish to make a motion to request something of the council or to request that Mr. Ballantyne go in front of the council to speak, you can also vote on that. So you'd need two votes.
But can Mr. Ballantyne, whether we agree or disagree, approach the council and bring that up regardless?
Sure, as an individual, not as an official representative.
Okay, well, then do what she said and go through the process.
Right, somebody needs to
So-
make a
so another-
motion to open the floor.
I don't think anybody here has a problem going
Well, let
back
them
after the builder for screwing up on a regular basis. I think some of them need to be spanked hard.
That's my point.
So if you want to bring this up, if I'm not mistaken, then we need a motion for next month to discuss this and be advertised.
You can vote,
we're
discuss it
discussing it right
today,
now.
but you need, if you'd like to take an official vote, correct, and you need a unanimous vote to discuss this item, which is not on the agenda, if you're gonna take a vote on it, if you're gonna make a resolution or any official action.
Do it. No, don't point at me, you do it.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we open it up now to discuss the after-the-fact cases and with an end to taking it before the parish council.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor and a second. Do we have any discussion on that particular motion? Would everyone please vote with your lights?
Gotta be unanimous.
Mr. Brookter?
Okay, motion passes.
carries. Motion passed.
Okay.
Okay.
So now you have to come up with a resolution. You can take your time and do it. It's no hurry.
No, no, go ahead.
If the board wishes to make a resolution, either just to authorize Mr. Valentine to go in front of the council, or if you'd like to make a resolution recommending that the council address the issue of after the fact and consider amending the code, you can do that as well. And that can be an official resolution that Helen can then forward on to the council.
I'll make a motion to do the latter, that we have a resolution to amend the rules or whatever pertaining to after-the-fact cases to help resolve this issue.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
No second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this? Would everyone please vote with your lights?
I'm sorry, would you, okay,
Wait,
could we
she
clarify?
doesn't have the motion. Can you repeat the
Could we
resolution,
please-
please?
So there's a resolution to amend the rules after the fact
On
case.
after-the-fact cases.
Okay,
Concerning after the fact cases.
okay.
Concerning after-the-fact cases.
In regards to,
Putting more teeth, whatever the appropriate wordage, but more teeth, fine for the contractors, a deterrent to eliminate or stop these from occurring.
And then the council can discuss it, because maybe not just the contractor, but I mean, you know, for homeowners to go, I didn't know I didn't need a permit. Yeah, you know you need a permit. Everybody knows they need a permit to do anything. The council can address all of that.
But is it, this is also going to pertain to the individual homeowner that didn't have a contractor?
That's what I'm saying. It's for the
Oh, yeah.
individuals as well. They are the builders.
If I may, let me propose some language to you so Helen has something, and y'all let me know what you think. A resolution to request that the council consider amending ordinances concerning penalties and deterrents for after-the-fact requests to the Board of Adjustments.
Yes.
Sounds good.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second, or resolution, excuse me. Is all in favor, would you please vote with your lights?
Mr. Snyder,
Mr. Snyder?
Mr. Valentine?
Mr. Valentine?
Just one time, Mr. Valentine, Mr. Snyder. Mr. Valentine? Okay. Mr. Valentine? Okay. Motion
Okay,
passed.
motion passed, okay. That takes care of it. Okay, the next issue would be, anything else on old business? New business, if I'm not mistaken, the bylaws state that at the annual first meeting of the year, calendar year, we need to elect a chairman and vice chairman.
Motion to keep things the same.
Second.
I don't see that. Is that on the agenda, Helen? Am I missing something?
No,
It's
it's
in the
not on
bylaws.
It's not on the agenda. Maybe we can add it to the agenda in February.
Yeah, that's fine. You can vote in February.
No, we vote in February.
I may or may not be here.
All right,
I serve at the privilege of the president, and there's a new one.
any more new business? Any more new business?
Motion to get rid of Tom? Get a second? Come on, somebody second.
We received no second on that motion. Okay, I'll move to adjourn. All in favor, aye. That's it. Thank y'all.